guys how to run 720p 30 FPS and 4K at 30 FPS on a high-res camera using voxl-streamer on the Voxel 2. So once you have all your hardware ready, I'm going to show you guys the software. So what you do is you ADB into your Voxel 2, right? And so this is running Voxel Suite 0.9.4, SDK 0.9. So I just have a high-res camera, an M0025, plugged into my Voxel 2. So first I have to configure that using Voxel Camera Server. So the easiest way to do that is you just do a voxel configure cameras, just like that. And if you hit enter, you'll see that I have all of the options available for the type of combination of cameras that I'm using. So in my case, I'm just using a high-res camera. So I'm going to do voxel configure cameras and then the number 8. I hit enter, and you're going to see now that it created a file in etc modal AI, and it's called voxl-camera-server.conf for configuration. And you'll see now that's populated with things like the snapshot height, width, preview height and width, the type of camera, the frame rate, all that good stuff. So our Voxel Camera Server configuration file is now good to go. And so if I inspect the services, you will see that my Voxel Camera Server is now enabled and running. So now I want to be able to stream the video from Voxel Camera Server to either to ground control or to VLC using an RTSP stream. So that's going to require us starting up voxl-streamer. So the way to start voxl-streamer on this SDK is you type in voxel configure streamer. You put a -I for the input camera that you want to use. In our case, we're using high-res. And bam, you're done now. It created a new configuration file in etc modal AI voxl-streamer configuration. So one thing to explain as well is that the decimator right here is pretty much how many frames you want to process in general. So this is saying every other frame we're going to process and push through the pipe to the RTSP stream. So that means if we're functioning at 30 FPS, let's say, or the bandwidth of the camera is 30 FPS, if your decimator is 2, it's going to be functioning at 15 FPS. Since this video is 720p and 4K at 30 FPS, what we're going to do is we're going to open up etc modal AI voxl-streamer.conf, and we're going to edit the decimator to be a value of 1, just like that. Done, right? But now we need to change the dimensions of the frame, right? So we're going to go back to etc modal AI voxl-camera-server.conf, and we're going to change this preview width and preview height to reflect 720p, right? So right now we'll do 1280 pixels by 720, which is this dimensions. These dimensions are considered 720p. And one thing to note is when you're streaming at higher dimensions, you want to change the incoming bit rate, so that way you can get more basically pushed through the pipe at once. So we're going to edit the etc modal AI voxl-streamer again. And notice how this bit rate right now is at 1 megabit per second. So we're going to change this to something like, let's say, 3 megabits per second, right? And so now, since we've changed the dimensions for Voxel Camera Server and for Voxel Streamer, we're going to restart the Voxel Camera Server by doing a sudo system control restart Voxel Camera Server, just like that. And if we inspect the services, we'll see that Voxel Camera Server is still enabled and running, and it's been restarted. Now, there are 2 ways to run Voxel Camera Server. One way is you can just, sudo system control enable Voxel Streamer, which will enable it to start the next time when you reboot the Voxel 2. Or you could put start Voxel Streamer like that. So we're going to do the start Voxel Streamer like that. Takes a second to go. And if I check Voxel inspect services again, you'll see now that Voxel Streamer is running. So now at this point, I'm going to check my IP, and it is 10.1.10.71. So I'm going to open up VLC. I'm going to open up some media, a network. And so in our case, we are opening up RTSP 10.1.10.71, port 8900 live. I hit open, and now you'll see that it's streaming at 720p. And so I'll move the camera around, and there I am. Howdy. So now what I'll do is I will sudo system control stop voxl-streamer like that. And now we're going to do it at 4K. So what you do is you open up etc modal AI voxel camera server, and we're going to edit the preview width and the preview height again. And in this case, we're going to do 4K, right? So it's going to be 3840 by 2160, right? Then we're going to do a sudo system control restart voxel camera server again to restart at those new dimensions for the high-res camera. Then what we're going to do is a vim etc modal AI voxl-streamer, and we're going to change the bitrate again to something like 10 megabits per second, because obviously 4K streaming is quite demanding, right? So let me exit out of this. And now what we can do is the same thing as before. Sudo system control start voxl-streamer. Take a few seconds to run. I check my services again. You'll see that voxl-streamer is running again, so I'll open up VLC one more time, double click on this sucker, and bam, now you can see we're running at 4K, and there I am again. Sorry for the shakiness, I'm manhandling the camera. So there we go. That's how you get the voxl-streamer and voxel camera server to run at 4K and 720p. This URL can be opened both in VLC and in QGround control, which can be found in the documentation on voxl-streamer.